Hey, what is going on, people? Look at this. The new look end product on Twitch. I'm live, as always, with my sparring partner, Quinny, back in the building. I hope we're sounding good to everyone locked in live. If you're listening on the podcast or if you're watching on YouTube, we do this live. It's going to become probably a Thursday thing, I think, right, Quinny? We're trying to get a little schedule going. Thursdays, Wednesdays, possibly. But yeah, we're here live, episode number 51. We've got lots of people in the chat, excited to be here. Lots of first-time chatters, which is always lovely to see as well. Quinny, how have you been, sir? It's been a minute since we've had a catch up. Haven't spoke to you since the last episode, really.
Yeah, it's kind of flown by, hasn't it? You know, the whole week. You know, last weekend just felt like such a non-event football-wise. Like, for me, it was all about the Scottish Cup semi-final, and Sorare-wise, SO5, it was just a nightmare. But the midweek's going pretty well. Wee bit of romance going on with the Super Rare 240 team this week. So, on the up and up. Things are going well. Looking forward to a big weekend in store as ever, and obviously a good wee bit of end product. Just wanted to say on the final wee bit of the intro, wherever you're listening, don't forget to like, subscribe, rate and review, and all that good stuff, guys, because it means a lot. We see it, and honestly, your kind words and your support means the world to us, honestly. Fist bump to you all.
Yeah.
But wasn't for it this weekend, Stish.
Do you know what? I had a pretty eventful weekend. So mine was like the opposite. My SO5 was abysmal, but I had a really good weekend in terms of football. I got to watch a great game between Palace and West Ham around the corner from where I live. That's the local ground to me. So we got some tickets to go to that. 7 goals, most of them in the first half. Was a great game as a neutral to go down there. I say as a neutral, I do have a soft spot for Palace. They are my local side, so always good to see them win. Took my son along. He enjoyed it. And then shot up to Manchester via a lot of delayed and disrupted trains to Old Trafford to see Man United scrape past Villa. I know we've got a few of the Villa fans in the chat, so sorry, gang, but we did get the job done. A long journey home, and then a gig for me straight after that. So I was pretty much dead on Monday, as were my Sorare teams. So I at least had something in common with them. But yeah, you mentioned having that little romance with the threshold. The limited threshold was my only win last weekend, but it was nice. It was nice to experience a 240 limited threshold win since I started that road to glory. Kind of doing everything on a £50 budget, trying to see if we can scrape home. So yeah, as much as it wasn't like a big win, it was an enjoyable win. It's nice to see, you know, like a bit of return for some, you know, putting in as little as 50 quid to see like a £5 come back in. So yeah, I was quietly pleased with that, as much as it wasn't like the all bells and whistles game weeks that we've had quite luckily recently. I took that and enjoyed it. But yeah, I think, you know, if that threshold of yours can come in with a card, that is looking good. You must be buzzing about that.
Yeah, big time, man. It's been a few weeks. Like I was listening to, I see Laird's in the live stream as well. I was listening to Laird and some other guys over the last weeks talk about how, I think it was Max HG with Laird talking about how when all the thresholds first came kind of revamped in, I think everyone with a good squad kind of got some sort of decent success rate quite quickly. You know, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 5, something like that. But I think I'm not alone here. The last 2 or 3 weeks, I don't think anyone's been winning thresholds. You know, like they've just been, you know, some of the actual football on the pitch has just not went to plan. You know, and a lot of best laid plans that have been destroyed. But this midweek, the plans look to be coming in. You know, like you say, Big Boy Illich with an 87 or something last night for Torino was beautiful. The Getafe boys, nice wee 1-0 win, and I've got Couto tonight, so that could do pretty well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully it gets me on a nice wee winning run to finish off the European season, you know. But the thresholds, like, no matter, like, you know, we were talking about this before coming on, you know, but no matter where you are in the game, of course, we all know thresholds are kind of like a wee bit of the lifeblood that keep your team moving forward and progressing without you needing to deposit every single week. You know, now you might not collect the thresholds every week, as we can testify to, you know, but when they do come in, no matter what what level of the game you're playing at. That nice little injection of in-game credit, if you like, is fantastic. If you are going to be going into the market, maybe strengthening, or maybe throw it next to a card, and maybe try and upgrade it in some way, or that kind of thing. And the limited threshold, it is a fiver. It's $5, right? So in the UK where we are, it's like £4 or something. It's not quite a fiver. And euros, who knows? And whatever your currency is, it will be different, of course. But I remember, and this is what I was kind of saying to you to pick up the point, but like, people with really established galleries are quite dismissive of the limited threshold in particular, for example. But, when the threshold first came out, it was £3.50 and £7 or something like that. It was like change. And obviously the game was in a much different place back then. But it didn't really change. I think everyone back then was always just the opinion, free ETH is good ETH, and it doesn't matter if it's £3 or £7, I'll take it, and we'll throw it into the wallet and we'll move forward. So it's one of those ones where, like, I don't have a team picking up limited threshold, but I think for anyone out there, like, a lot of the questions I get, Stish, and this is a lot of the stuff that we talk about, is people maybe looking a scarcity up and thinking, can I get that threshold next? Because the threshold above whatever level you're at the moment can be paradigm changing for your club,
Definitely that. I think I'm struggling. I think the cap 240 super rare threshold is an amazing amount to win in a game, personally, and it is hard. I find it very difficult to hit, and I do have a playing goalkeeper that I put in there. A lot of people can hit that if you get super lucky, I guess. The thing with super rares is you do have to get a little bit luckier unless you have those like high scoring, regular starter type players, which is kind of like why I think the limited level is quite an interesting game, because it is one that you can chop and change a little bit more in, and pick up a card or two with your wins. Whereas I find maybe the rare threshold, you're maybe picking up one below average card. If with that threshold win. With limited, you might be able to pick up a couple of like really kind of like low. Oh, it's not even that low, is it? Because you can get starting forwards for like £3, £2.
Yeah.
So it's
the
just
amount of choice under £20 is incredible, though now.
Yeah, exactly. It's there's a lot out there, so it's quite a compelling game mode for me, even though it's maybe not as like the most rewarding in terms of getting a threshold, but it feels more like a game playing that game mode than some of the other like competitions when I just chuck in what I think is going to be the best team. I really think a little bit more about that limited threshold because of the way I play it, only with the selection of players that I bought specifically for that game mode, to try and see what it's like to play with like a tight budget and only being able to reinvest the money you win or trade your way up, etc. So I've been enjoying it, and I think that it is an interesting part of the game. Like you said, like people maybe rubbish it if they're not playing it because of the amount of money to win is maybe not as appealing as winning like in the upper divisions. But I think it is a good for people that are coming into the game. If they're just playing limiteds, I think that cap mode is surely one of the first ones that they look to enter. I may be wrong. I know there's a few people in the chat who probably come in and play limiteds quite heavily, and maybe like the Premier League Pro division and the MLS Pro division. Those kind of divisions seem to be quite popular on social media. I don't know about you, but I definitely get tagged in a lot of posts that are like this weekend's lineups, and a lot of them are like MLS Pro, Premier League Pro, and they're, if anything, they're the divisions that I don't get involved in. I think I've got an MLS Pro entry if I want to put it in there, but other than that, I don't think I have enough cards from any given division from like Serie A, La Liga, Liga, etc. So I've not really got involved in those, but I'd be interested to know from the chat. Like, I know we got a few people in there that play those modes, and I wonder, for people who play more specifically limited, what are the kind of divisions that you get excited about ahead of the game weeks? But yeah, I think since those thresholds are coming, it's definitely become, for me, and I think you, Quinny, are probably like part of the reason for this for me. But talking about, like the places where the prize money is, All-Star Rare, All-Star Pro as well. they've become a lot more appealing. And I've definitely started chucking some of my big lineups into those, especially in the midweeks where, you fancy yourself to get in that top 40 or 50 if you've got what looks like a decent team on paper. I think weekends are a bit tougher to get into those top positions in those divisions. But yeah, it's definitely shifted my thinking a little bit. There's a lot more to think about with where you're putting your cards at the minute, I think. But yeah, interesting chat on the thresholds there. Verbal diarrhea from me as per usual, but
no, that's all good, mate. Simon's come in with a good point on top of that as well, asking about the timing for European cards in terms of moving colour. Moving from he's specifically asking for himself. Moving from red to blue or whatever. But I think like the thing, Simon, I think everyone with this, like when you are looking at, if you are looking at moving up a threshold, or you're looking at moving your gallery in any different which way, there's always inherent risk with taking on, like more. What would the word be? Liability against card prices. So if you don't currently have super rares, you're not exposed to the super rare market. Going and getting them, of course, you need to be aware of the exposure that you're then getting to that. And like as much as everything moves up money wise, like you win a bigger threshold, the cards you win are scarcer. Generally, you should sell the better ones for more. That kind of thing. That is, it's the same paradigm. It's two faces of the same coin, where on top of that there's less people that can afford those cards, there's less people in those markets, there's less people with an appetite to buy and trade and etc. So that's one thing that is wildly underestimated, I think, by players that move up scarcities quite quickly. Simon's been here for a while, so I don't think he's really in this boat specifically, but just for everyone kind of out there listening or whatever. But I think like individually, and this is a thing that I think we always come back to, Stish, when it comes to recommendations on timing and strategy, is you need to really get into an individual player. What is his market doing? Is he really bottoming out? Is he close to bottoming out? Is that guy get 4 super rares with 2 guys that are itching to sell and you can get a deal done? Or has he got 14 super rares and no one wants to sell? So there's so many particular details. Like every card is its own market really on Sorare in that basis, So a sweeping statement like that, I could say yes, I could say no. Really, it really depends on who you're looking at, and it's all about it's an old trope, Stish. I don't think we've heard on Sorare content used as much over the last year, but I think we could maybe bring it back here, and that is do your own research. Do your own research, of course. But all answers can be true there. But I think if you're really studying into, I've been watching this guy's card, and the situations I've given there is like scenarios. If you can actually know and identify those situations, not just as a generic scenario, but a real life one that's happening in the market, then it's that my advice is always, when the opportunity presents itself, then that's probably the best time to get the card, even if you can't maybe use it immediately. And I've been victim to this more times than I've yet to benefit from, probably, but sometimes it's about getting the guy in when you can get the guy, kind of thing. Is kind of how I look at these things overall.
Yeah, I'm a bit like that. I mean, we talk about it quite a bit on here as well. Like it's like the current prices and where people are at in their that league cycles and their fixture cycles and stuff like that. And I keep telling myself every week, I'm not really in the market for anything, but you do get tempted in sometimes by those cards and their prices. And I picked up a player this week actually, Adis Jasic, who plays at Wolfsberger in Austria. He caught my eye maybe a year ago. He's been in my watch lists for ages. And he had a super rare up. And I think I managed to take the super rare down for about 135 quid. I was like, he's 19 years old, midfielder. They're currently using him as a fullback, but which isn't as great for his scores. So he's finding himself on the bench a little bit more as well. But I like those plays where, there's a player that is someone you've had your eye on for future, not for necessarily now. But the prices now are hopefully not where they'll be maybe 2-3 weeks into next season, when they've got a whole year of fixtures ahead of them, and a young player like that may be a little bit more cemented in the starting lineup, or finally finds their position or gets a move, so it is an interesting time if you're moving in and out of different scarcities. Yeah, like you said, Quinny, I think it's more down to the players you're trying to pick up than necessarily like the price or the availability of or all that kind of stuff. But yeah, definitely an interesting. There's a lot of people asking those questions at the moment, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Is this the time to buy, or are we still going down?
And I think for generic strategies as well, Stish, like it is quite understated that you, especially with the availability of cards at the moment, the prices of most cards, like there's probably never been a safer time in the market to, and Sam Tai says this, which is why it sprang to mind, you know, if you look at his comment in the live chat, he's waiting to see how the summer pans out. And I think like with some strategies, if you are like I'm saying, if you're potentially increasing exposure or doing something a bit different, you know, because of the way the market is at the moment, because of the amount of variety, option, availability, etc., you probably have more time to maybe wait for, like I'm talking about get the guy when you can get the guy, but there's probably much less pressure on that now than there's ever been, you know, with the way the market is at the moment. So there's definitely a lot to be said for that. And Pistol here again is talking about how much fun limiteds can be with that stuff. And I think limiteds are one of these things, Stish, you bring up a great point where I think like if you look at some of the collections I'm knocking together, or you see some other people on the Sorare sphere, some of these collections are very expensive and very hard to get together, right? But see if you get a wee fancy for something, you know, like, oh, like you did, you know, we were talking on the podcast and you went off, you got a wee fancy and a wee notion for something.
Yeah.
At limit level, you can knock it together.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not going to be that hard. You know, if you get a wee, oh, do you know what? I fancy back in Villa. Oh, do you know what? I fancy all these wee wonder kids I found in Germany. Oh, I fancy Benfica now, or, you know, whatever. Then limiteds, you can have a bit more fun with it. Like you say, it's something you can, you can put things in action with it, which is definitely a fun aspect of the game that's maybe understated at this point.
I think another thing with limiteds as well is in terms of like gameplay as opposed to like ROI or, you know, like thinking of the cards as an investment, is the limit is like the level that they're at now, particularly I think with the amount of demand there is versus the supply. You can pick up, like you said months ago, like pick your dream team up and use them every week for like as long as you want. If you're not looking at the price of those cards going up and down and worrying about that, you absolutely can get in at a decent price for buying your dream team and just seeing how you get on with it for the next couple of seasons and not worrying about, or it's like it's down 20 quid or it's up 10 quid, or it's just like, I think that there's obviously like there's potential to yield from it as well, which a lot of people miss when they're looking at the gallery values and stuff like that. But it's more like, yeah, like buying some of those cards. I really, like I said, like my son and I picked out that kind of Ajax PSV kind of like stack, and it's just fun putting that into Challenger every week and seeing if we get any wins out of it. And I couldn't tell you if that's up or down on its price, because I didn't really buy it thinking this will be worth more in a few months than it is now. It was more like, is that what the price of those cards is now? That feels like a good price. Obviously, comparatively on where things have been recently, a lot of things feel like a good price now, right? If you're buying them, not if you're selling them. But if you are buying them to use them and try and enjoy you know your game weeks and your weekends watching, in my case, a bit of Eredivisie, then I didn't feel like it was too big a price to pay for what should be a team that can, on any given game week, find itself well amongst the cards, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, in that sense, and you know, we've seen with a lot of the listeners with their Villa stacks enjoying a good run of form for their team, and you know that's kind of doubled down by a card win or two on Sorare on any given weekend. But it's I want to mention this as well, actually, because anyone else who sort of consumes Sorare content and that, there's so much good content out there, and we were talking about it off air, but now whenever I'm sort of talking about prices and cards, like I was listening to Sorare Odyssey in a week, and if anyone's never listened to Sorare Odyssey, like I recommend it. We've had the chaps, they had us on their, what was their 50th episode, wasn't it? We did with them, but it's just a hilarious podcast, and the boys are sounding like the complete disarray at the moment with they're watching the prices of their galleries going down, and yeah, I just wanted to shout them out, recommend it. It's
I don't mind telling you, they do talk like that off camera as well.
yeah.
they are no different off camera than they are on, you know. So
I was driving home
sure.
late the other night, had it on, and I laughed out loud at least 3 or 4 times in my car, like proper screaming. Yeah, check the podcast out if you haven't. It's a good one.
McGettigan's got a good one for us. There's like some great comments. We'll try and get to them all because there's some great ones I do want to throw into this whole kind of progression chat we're having at the moment. But McGettigan's got a good one on trying to use premium limited and trade into rare, potentially U23. And I think, like, particularly with, like, I was going to take a cheap shot with this earlier, Stish, right? Because when we were talking about building the limited dream team before, right, a month or two ago, you know, we used Messi as the kind of, like, at limited level, what was it, 250, 300 quid or something at the time? And it's like, yeah, it's like, you know, that's not unachievable, but it's not cheap either, you know, and that's kind of where the game should be. And Messi today at limited is under 100 quid. Wow. Obviously, we don't expect him to really play the rest of this season. He's going to be fined and suspended and whatever. But there's never been a better time to buy Messi.
Yeah, you know, crazy. That's
if you wanted a wee limited one, for example.
Yeah.
So, McGettigan, to answer your question, if you wanted to trade premium limiteds into rares, I would suggest, depending on your scope, you know, maybe some of these premium cards, you could roll them up, wait for them to have a wee bit of a rebound, and maybe turn them into some rares with the likes of your Pavels and maybe even just general market traders. Like if somebody's got, I don't know, like let's say a decent caliber rare, let's just say Sorare data value is 0.3, and you're going to go to them with 0.35, 0.4 worth of limiteds on current SRD value at point of trade, then you'll probably get some good stuff done, I would imagine, because limiteds are always a bit more liquid. And if it's premium names, they are pieces that people, you know, can take and put on the market with some confidence generally. So it's not a bad strategy to go. Simply Alex did something similar. Simply Alex was a limited whale and then went into rares. And then I know he's made that move a few times in a few directions, so I'm not too sure exactly on the whole sequence of events of it all. But Alex, if you don't check out his content, make sure to give him a look because he's did that stuff at least once to a good degree of success, I would say. So
yeah, I think that's a good shout. It is difficult sometimes, I will say, is like you do have to go, if you're going to trade your way into another scarcity or trade your way into any other cards for that matter, all of these kind of trading accounts expect you, like they'll have their own values on cards as well. And like they'll say like, oh, 120% of the value or whatever, but it's normally on like what they value the cards at as well. So be prepared to be frustrated dealing with some of the accounts that will allow you to trade, that have those big galleries that you can get in and out of. I sent Pavel a trade this week and I felt it was a pretty fair trade and it just got swatted away. I just thought, you know, I can't even be bothered to get on Discord and ask him what he actually
It all depends who's on Pavel's desk, you know, as well, you know, because, you know, Pavel is a man that is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. God bless his soul, you know. And when he does swat an offer back like that, I think sometimes, that's maybe the intern that did the Joe David move, you know. It's been told, do not do anything borderline questionable again, you know. So all depends on who's on the Pavel desk, I think. So I love Pavel. Pavel's an institution at this point of the Sorare community. Let's face it, you know. But with the last couple of trades I've done, I noticed at different times of the day you get better response time. So again, I've got no idea the difference in who's actually responding to offers and whatever, you know, from as far as Big Pavel's concerned. I'm sure it is the man himself, of course. He never sleeps. But never insinuate there's more than one person there, of course. But
you're just digging a hole here right now, Quinny, mate.
But sometimes, you know, if you watch the time of day and if you notice like, I get 3 counter offers at 5 o'clock or something, maybe that's the time of day where, I got a deal done with him 2 months ago. What time of day did that email come in at? It came in at 11 o'clock at night. Or maybe 11 o'clock at night is the guy that likes me in the Pavel trading desk, you know, or something. And maybe there's a wee bit of time correlation to do with to get us back on. Sam Ty's thrown in saying 200 quid for a Vinny limited is 4/5 of a rare team at the moment in the market. So yeah, you can definitely do some limited rare trading categorically, I think.
I've been amazed at how cheap some of the rares go at the moment, especially the ones whose seasons are ending right now. Like and things I've traded in and out as well. Like I think I can't remember who it was I traded out now, but one of the sort of like swaps that I did that just felt like a fair swap, and I couldn't be bothered to go back and forth. But I can't remember who I had listed now, but I had a player listed, and someone offered to swap me Salamanca's for it, which in value terms felt like was worth a little bit more than my card. But you know, Salamanca's was under 23, and whatever I swapped out wasn't. I'd have to go into my data and find out who that was, but he's been quite a useful card, and I remember being surprised at how cheap he was at that time, and I imagine him to be even probably cheaper now, given he's probably only got a few fixtures left. But cards like that, you know, they're like 40, 50 quid, and like I know he's sort of a rotation player, but I picked up Joachim Anderson, who is a Palace centre back, for like 31
quality,
31 quid international. Do you know what I mean? Like there are bargains. If you've got like a Vinny Jr. to trade out, you could easily get a couple of defenders and a midfielder with that money. And I'm talking like starters,
Spain players,
starters who play and maybe put up a 55 average or something like that. Like, which if you're playing cap mode, great. You know, if you can get a few pieces together that can hit 55 on an average game, and then maybe just drop slightly below it occasionally when maybe they don't get a clean sheet or something like that. But yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because I think that the whole market has kind of come down together. So like trading your limiteds out for those rares, they've come down as well as the rares have come down. I don't know. Like I'm not like a kind of market genius to tell you whether they've come down like sequentially, like in sort of a ratio with each other. But yeah, definitely an interesting thing to think about. It's got me looking at my current game week. Actually, I've just noticed that one of my cards put up a big score yesterday. You know, when you chuck players into a team, I don't know about you. This is an interesting point, actually. I put a lot of teams out on the game week now just to try and hit a few coins instead of putting them in training. I don't know what the benefit is of that versus putting them in training, apart from the coins, obviously. And we don't really know how good the coins are going to be, how valuable they'll become in future. So I, in any given game week, chuck quite a few teams in for coins. And I've noticed that one of them, you know, like the kickoff, I think it was maybe kickoff unique, because that's the only sort of unique one I can enter. But I'm pretty sure the coins that come out of that pretty hefty, like 400-500 coins just for entering a team, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I wonder if anyone in the chat has been doing that. I wonder if they're...
Well, I heard Nanzo drop a comment on, I think it was a Sorare data show, saying that he has like 250,000 coins or something like that, or something crazy. So, you know, like when it comes to farming coins, I've thought, and I'm now like, when I hear things like that, it kind of compounds my belief that it's probably futile at the level of getting an extra 100 coins in and that kind of stuff. You know, like I'm sure it will accumulate. And if you look at Pavel Trader's banner on Twitter, you know, I think that kind of sums it up, says it all. When it comes to coin farming, fair enough. But it's, yeah, for me, I don't know. I think with the worth of the coins, obviously, as we know, we're waiting for this merch tab. If you go into the shop now, so if you're on Sorare, click on your little coin balance. It's the easiest way I do it. There's a new tab that says merch. There's nothing under it yet, but it is there now, you know. So we're expecting mystery shirts to come in there, and maybe a few other things that are up their sleeve. Who knows, you know. But I can tell you this, like, if there's, and Nanzo's not the biggest whale, and Nanzo's not the only whale, and there's other whales that are smaller than him that won't be too far off him, etc., etc. But if these guys are swimming about already with six-figure balances, you know, then I want to see some pricing, you know. I want to see the shop. I want to see how much things are before, like, farming even becomes, even registers with me. I've not even bothered with it at this point, mate, to be quite honest with you. I still will put a 4-man team out here and there, because 4-man teams have always got a shot in my book.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't bother.
No, I've definitely been putting a few 4-man teams out, but I've just noticed like how, if you do want coins, you know, if you've got super rares who have a fixture, even like a 3-man team out, and I don't know what that does for their XP, if that's better.
I believe training is supposed to be triple XP for everyone involved. So
I was looking at it recently, it said double.
Is it double?
Double for training, which made me it triggered me to spend out for one extra training team.
Hey.
So I actually did spend some coins on just one. So I've got 4 training teams, but yeah, that was that. There is an interesting chat comment actually from Sopsy, who says, I hope the merch is better than NBA. And this is something actually that we should definitely bring up and talk about. I don't know, Quinny, if you noticed, there was an announcement from Sorare about the kind of playoffs for the NBA. There's a kind of like a merch drop, and based on like where you finish in any given game week, you pick up X amount of points. At the end of the playoffs, you can trade points in for prizes, and the prizes range from like, I guess, like hoodies and hats down to like mugs, and the top prizes are kind of like match tickets and stuff like that, obviously. But the majority of the prizes are they seem to have definitely underwhelmed the online community. I know obviously we get a lot of negativity about pretty much everything, but I didn't see a lot of positive back from that. I think that the general vibe was people were disappointed with the fact that the prizes were not like massive things. It did make me have a little look, because I am playing the NBA playoffs, not like super engaged with it, but I've had a couple of results. I did actually forget to put my teams in this week, so I've got like a week of nothing, but I've won enough points to claim some of those prizes if my calculations are correct. So even if I don't win any more now, when the playoffs are finished, I should be able to claim a couple of prizes. The one thing I will say that is they must have the fact that I might win some of these prizes and I don't really compete to a high level in NBA, in my knowledge, like I must be way down the list of like NBA whales or people who have lots. I don't have a lot of NBA cards. I don't sort of buy NBA cards. I kind of sell and keep, and I don't do a great deal with mine. But the fact that I've won enough points to maybe claim like a t-shirt and a mug or something like that, there's got to be thousands of people that are going to do that, right? There must be thousands. How many t-shirts and mugs and stickers and that have they got? Because I'm a bit concerned about, if I'm winning something, then there must be thousands of people like me who, play it very like ridiculously casually. If I didn't have Sorare data,
I'll have to do overtime in the Sorare offices, Meal night. Everyone's just getting pizza and just like everyone's on double time.
They're gonna have their work cut out. They must have a factory full of these like merch items. So I don't know what to expect if that is the kind of thing that we'll get from football. I mean, I think one thing I will say is that, like I didn't expect any kind of special rewards for playoffs. I didn't know that was the thing until it happened. So I think my initial reaction to it was, oh, cool. Like there's something else on top of the cards, and that you can win. I think the fact that they don't have ETH rewards is one thing. I guess that might have felt like a slap in the face to anyone who plays NBA is waiting for that. Not like
I think about a new season thing, but that makes
the
way that's happened to MLB. That was a new season thing as well, wasn't it? So,
but yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how pissed off I would be if I could claim merch items with my coins, just because they feel like an extra bonus to me. But I guess it depends on like what level you're playing the game and how important winning coins is. But if I can buy, especially if it's club merchandise, if I can buy a couple of shirts, like a kit for one of my kids at Christmas with my coins or something like that, I'd take that. Maybe people wouldn't take that, but if I can get that and obtain that with a few months worth of like coin grinding, I'll take that and I'd be quite happy with it. But I think people are expecting like the match tickets and stuff like that. I think match tickets would be great as well, but I wouldn't expect them to go cheap, right? I don't know about you. I wouldn't expect.
Depends on the club and the grade of the ticket and all that kind of caper, because I know from like ticket requests that I've had with Sorare and conversations I had when like I had the La Liga ticket giveaway, so I went and bought the La Liga cards and we did that. El Clasico is always, and even just generally if I'm saying to them, what tickets could I maybe ask for or whatever, games like Der Clasiker, El Clasico, these things are like totally different ballpark in terms of the value of them internally in terms of who gets them and how they operate it and all that kind of stuff, so I've got a feeling when any marquee ones like that go into the shop, they will be priced like marquee pieces,
Yeah. I think that's why they've used the term random as well, like there's mystery shirts and stuff.
Yep.
Because I think if they went in and said, right, here we go, we've got a signed Real Madrid jersey, it's 8 million coins or something like that, then it'll be a case of who gets there fastest and who has that balance. So I think if they keep it as like mystery shirt, that almost is like, we've got 6 signed shirts, they're going to cost 800,000 coins each or something like that, and you don't know which one you're going to get. But I think that's probably what they're going to have to do, really, isn't it? Because people will get annoyed if they can't get the one that they want. But if they don't know what they're getting, they can't really get annoyed that it's like, hey, I'll take a signed shirt and don't really know what it's going to be till I get it. But yeah, I think that'll be interesting.
See, with the whole random part of it, you would hope it's not beyond their means to give you it somewhat randomly. So if random is going to be non-premium, basically, right? Internally to them, right? So if you're winning a non-premium, you're redeeming non-premium goods. Can they just look at your gallery and go, oh, you've got 5 Sol cards, let's send you a Sol shirt, or you've got 7 Liverpool cards, let's send you a Liverpool top, or something maybe not Liverpool, maybe they fall in the premium category, but outside of that, what other cards do you have? What cards have you been winning? Did you just win a reward with a stack of a team? Or, surely it's, some degree of this, hopefully that's not too difficult, but if you were to do, because they want you to engage with it, they want you to marry the club, they want you to be a supporter of somebody new, they want you to engage with this on all those levels. So they are incentivized to give you a Sol shirt rather than a Nashville shirt or something like that, which I'm sure you would be quite happy to receive, but it's not the same as, when you've got cards that play for that team and you've been following them for a bit on Sorare, because that's the experience that we're all living here,
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful.
I mean, that brings up another interesting point that they've mentioned, that we might get, like card burns and stuff like that in future. And if you paired like a coin burn with a burn, like a card burn, to like get a signed shirt of that club or of that player based on, like the scarcity of it, then that could become interesting. Like, like burn 10 Cecilia limiteds and get like a Cecilia signed shirt or something like that, and like plus X amount of coins. I don't know how easy it is for them to like acquire like a very specific player shirt. I think that's like almost a whole department they need to open up for coin and card burning.
Yeah.
And, claiming there's only so much sort of merchandise that I guess they can get from the league or from the clubs that they've got the deals with. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that's an exciting potential part of the game, is like what you can win from outside of like the general prize pool, and what these coins could amount to and what these card burns could amount to and stuff like that. But someone in the chat actually says, do you Tululu, do you think we'll ever be able to buy packs of players with So coins? Could be unauctionable too. I would say no. I don't think we're ever going to see packs of cards you don't know what you're getting, because that becomes a gambling issue. Apparently, someone made this point before on a piece of content I was listening to, and apparently, like, there's a reason that Sorare doesn't do blind packs, and it's something to do with the fact that you're paying for.
I think it's a lot of regulation that FIFA, I think you need to preview packs on FIFA now and stuff like that. I think it's just that whole loot box, in-game purchase, RNG element has just been totally kiboshed, I think, by regulators across the world, really, at this point. So I think it's just a road need not trodden, But on that note of like revenue sources, somebody else mentioned it in the chat that Dan, an hour ago, number one, said that there'll be a roadmap next week. And then I think it was the same comment. It's about the same place in the chat. Anyway, someone also said we're meant to have market fees on by now, and we don't. So, like, I number one was surprised at how quickly they came out, because all we heard when they were on Nels's podcast and whenever we hear any of their official comms and spaces and whatever, it was always, we're in no rush. We're in no rush to pull these levers, and we're in no rush. And I don't really think they have rushed it, but when you say that, it makes me think this is, let's think about this tomorrow kind of thing. And it feels like we're doing it today, So the fact that it's not been implemented already, I think that's good. And I'm quite happy about it.
I forgot about that.
Same.
How do you feel about list or play right now? We've had a little while of that, haven't we? What's your current vibe on that Where are you at with that?
So I have noticed it's difficult to do a speculative trade. So if I see a card, which I often do, and I think, oh, I wonder if I could tempt them into a trade. What could I put together to maybe tempt them into something? Maybe I can chance my arm and I can make something happen here. Even sending that speculative trade is arduous now, because if it is like middle of a game week, I've got guys in the team already. I need to do it when, the players I'm going to offer are not playing. And like I always say, I don't make people crap offers and I don't have crap cards. So if I'm sending an offer, it's probably what I deem to be relatively fair, which I think most people tend to agree on, if nothing generous in my offers. I think people were telling me in my last video with the Maxi Morales for Carter Vickers that the other guy definitely won, so if that's the way you think, then fair enough. So that makes that offer impossible, because two of the cards I'm playing them this week, and if I even just send this offer, the teams are goosed, I can't even just send the offer in the hope of, if he accepts it, I'll accept the team being goosed, because then I will be acquiring the card, for fact at that point. Don't mind that. But even hey mate, with these cards, could we do something here? Even doing that.
You have to get on Discord now, don't you? You can't even really send an offer through without it. Just, you're going to get a straight rejection. You're not going to get you won't get a kind of like a counter offer, because that's enough to ruin the lineups and stuff like that as well, isn't it? So it kind of forces you onto Discord, which I'm not a massive fan of either. I don't really like. I'd rather just send the offer and see if it gets accepted or not. I don't really like.
It forces me away from the move altogether, Stish. I end up just not doing it. Half of them don't have Discord, anyway. So it's just like, okay, well, I'll wait 2 weeks. That's what I say to myself. I'll wait 2 weeks. But then in that 2 weeks, the guy I'm trying to get could fucking drop an 80 or something like that. Or somebody else might buy them or whatever. And I don't know. I think that's too restrictive on trade, to be quite frank.
I think, it's tough. Someone else asked in the chat as well earlier about, is it difficult to pick up like super rares and stuff now that the thresholds? And I think I would say yes, but even more so now, if they've got a game in the game week, super rares, they've got there's a low supply of them. So in any given game week that they're playing, especially if they're midweek, weekend kind of players, there's like no space for them to be listed ever.
Yep.
Because the minute the game week closes, you'll line them up for next week. And it's so hard now, more than ever, to get hold of those super rares, unless, like their season's finished or they're injured or they're just not being used.
Or they're not being used by the guy because they're not better than what they've got.
Exactly.
In which case, you're then looking at Wales most of the time. And Wales can be quite easy to deal with, I think, with tertiary super rares in particular. I think if you send, like Hendo got a great deal on a Haksabanovic super rare today from a whale, and I think that was at a decent rate anyway off of last sales and whatever. So, it kind of can be depending on, again, who owns it, who's trying to sell it. Because that's a big part of it. Because me and you, Stish, we won't be listing these super rares like you're talking about. You would need to have like 80 plus super rares to then easily have these guys listed regularly, so it changes the market, which, I don't like the ability to not even send the, hey, would this trade work offer, because that's just a killer.
Someone else has just made a good point in the chat. Poke Par 1. Nice risky auction coming up in an hour. Messi super rare. His rare just went for 0.68. Still a risky pump for next season with him being suspended and confirmed as leaving. I mean, that will be an interesting one to watch. And a Messi super rare, I mean, it's still got to go for what? It's still got to be what, a 5 ETH plus card? I don't know. What do you reckon?
What does he normally trade at, a Messi SR? I think, I don't think the loss of immediate term utility changes the price of a Messi SR, because like Andrew and Sean were talking about yesterday, the probability of him being a non-utility card next season is negligible, in my opinion. I don't think the chances of him going to Saudi and being a blue or a red X, I think they're very small.
Yeah.
And beyond that, really, what other options are there for him to red X? I don't see it, So let me check the...
Can Barcelona get him back, realistically? You're a little bit more in touch with La Liga than I am.
I don't see it, mate. Like, I think they would bet... So the last super rare Messi went for 8 ETH, 8.3 on auction on the 12th of Feb. In pound notes, that would have been 10 bags of sand, basically. 10 and a half.
There's one on on the secondary or for sale now at 5. So you'd expect the auction.
Oh, really? Is it? Yeah, it would have to go under the 4 then, eh? So yeah, I think that again, I think the probability of him being non-utility is negligible. So
Where do
that
you see
should
him
be
going? If he's not Barcelona, where do you think we might see him next season?
probably Celtic, if I'm honest.
Oh.
Straight face, eh? So no, I don't know. I think MLS is long on the cards for him, but I do think, mate, if anyone's going to pull the deal off, it's going to be Man City, to be quite honest, because Man City can pull enough financial fair play levers where they can sell 12 guys you've never heard of, didn't even know that they played for Man City, and probably fund the deal FFP wise that way. And they're probably the only team. And I had this discussion, I can't remember if it was on camera or not. I think it was. It was last night with Ian, with my mate. We did a live watch along last night. But I think City borderline could hold Messi in their team with Haaland if you look at the way they're currently shaping up and whatever. But Messi would not be in the condition in this Man City team to play 100% of matches. You're probably looking at him playing 80 to 85% of matches across all competitions. He won't play League Cup. He won't play FA Cup. And maybe some of those bottom end teams, he maybe doesn't start, maybe gets rotated or whatever, but he plays Champions League, he plays the big games in the league in City. And I think if you look at the way the team's composed, it's like a 3 in the back, and then they put 2 defensive players in midfield, and then they kind of just play a few attackers anyway. And some guys have got good legs on the wings, and they press and blah, blah, blah. But I think Man City could do it money-wise. I think strategically they could do it. Even if it was just a straight, we're going to rotate Messi and Haaland for a season just because we can, and we're going to do it for the love of football, and we'll find some games where we can play them together. But I think Man City is the only candidate for him to stay in Europe, really. And I think beyond that, maybe it's Argentina, probably it's MLS, but it's
going to be interesting to see, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see him at Man City. I think that's a good point. I just can't see him in many teams. It's so weird. I think because it's Messi, it's like it was weird seeing him at PSG and not at Barca. But Barcelona's financial situation is still what it is. It's hard to imagine him going back there unless he literally pays for his own wages somehow, or I don't know.
I think he would go back there relatively cheap, right? I don't think I think if Barca could make it happen, but the problem I've got with it is for Barca to make it happen, they already have too many wrong players in the wrong positions in that squad, and then that's them trying to get over Messi. So bringing Messi back into that situation with Rafinha, Dembele, Lewandowski, Ferran Torres, Gavi, Pedri, Fati, and putting Messi back on top of that, are they making things better? Really? I'm sure it'll feel nice and great, and I'm sure they'll probably win more matches than they lose, but Barca are just probably going to doom themselves to all sorts of FFP penalties, all sorts of problems in the squad, and they probably won't, who knows, man, but it's just fraught with problems, I think. So I kind of hope it doesn't happen more than think it won't happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. I think it's just hard to imagine Messi at MLS now, just because he's still so good. Even Ronaldo, to an extent in Saudi is weird, but he's different in that, I think Ronaldo was a bit more of a power player, and he's lost that bit of that extra few yards of pace, and that's affected his game a lot. Whereas Messi is he reminds me a little bit of he's a lot better player, obviously, but a bit like how we saw Rooney kind of adapt his game towards the end of his playing career, where he wasn't the goal scorer, goal getter player. He was the sitting in the pockets, number 10, picking passes, still scoring goals, but he was a great player in that role. And Messi's been that for the last couple of seasons, I think. And he's still one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world, in that position. So a move for him to MLS just doesn't feel right to me. I can't. It makes financial sense, but it just feels too early. So maybe Man City is the move.
I think he needs that. I think if Man City come, I think he has to take a shot at the Premier League before. This is the last chance to win. He's won the World Cup now. He's not really he's never really had much to prove for very long, right? But getting that World Cup in is brilliant, obviously, for his legacy and his career. And if the opportunity comes back to take City for a year, then or 2 or whatever it would be agreed upon, then I would hope he wouldn't knock that back, and I would hope it would be made to happen. The status City will get for one season of Messi will definitely outweigh the price of him. Yeah, it's a move that I think, as somebody's saying as well, might help keep Pep stay. And Ronaldo was very much more money driven. And Ronaldo, like you're quite right, Stish, he's very much more on the athleticism side of the game, as well as elite talent and mentality. Whereas Messi is very much on the talent side of the game, where it is like, as long as he's fit and he can stand on 2 legs and he's not get torn ligaments and muscles and whatever, like, he can always be handy on a football pitch. Like, no, you'll remember this being a Man United fan. Right after Paul Scholes retired, obviously he had that kind of retirement that wasn't a retirement, right? But after he actually retired, about a year or 2 later, all these little clips started showing up of Paul Scholes playing 7-a-side and scoring like belters from 80 yards, and he was just running it. And he had like a beer belly, and he was like proper retired. And like Messi's at that end, but it's all talent with him, but it is just like, just give him a pair of boots and a ball and you'll be all right with him. So I think for the longest part, like you're right, like maybe it is too early for him to go to MLS, because as we can see now in PSG, like, he can still carry himself against the biggest defenders in Europe. He can still score against the goalkeepers that Europe currently offer for the large, so he's not diminishing in that respect, but it's where can he be housed is the problem, because it's not Germany. It's probably not Italy. I don't think anyone in Italy could take Messi at this point.
No.
It's not going to be Real Madrid, of course. And I think Barcelona, I just don't know, man. I can't, SR Dinebar, Charlie Dunbar makes a great point where maybe he could go to the Middle East for a season and let Barca get their shit together. Then he goes to Barca for the Swan Song, and then it's MLS and World Cup, and then it's retirement and whatever. Maybe, but like, I don't know. I think Messi probably has been sniggering at Ronaldo this whole time.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably enjoyed that. Oh, I never went there part of his career, so especially with Ronaldo wanting to come back so quickly, as well. So I don't have much faith that he'll go Middle East, to be honest.
Not yet.
I could see him going to Japan and playing with Iniesta before he goes to the Middle East.
That would be something. Could you imagine him in the J League? Could you imagine like the hysteria over there for Messi? Like they would go crazy over there for Messi. It would be that would be some sight.
It would probably cause an earthquake in Japan.
Yeah, exactly that. That would be really interesting to see. I can't see it happening now again, but he doesn't feel like his age to me. I don't think of him as old as he is. He still looks like he could play another 4 or 5 seasons, like the way he plays. But I don't know. I'd love to see him in Japan. I think that'd be amazing. Be great for SO5 as well. I'd definitely be picking a Messi up if he moves to Vissel Kobe to go and link up with Iniesta. That would be
so hipster of him, wouldn't it?
That would be interesting. Another one that we kind of like spoke about off air was Jude Bellingham. And there's a lot of heat ramping up now about him potentially moving to Real Madrid. What are your thoughts on that one? I think it's an interesting one because we still don't really know what's going on with Tony Cruz. And I wonder if Tony Cruz is waiting to see what's going on there because, I mean, Tony Cruz...
I don't think the succession plan that Real Madrid have does not involve Cruz playing with whoever will replace Cruz, because he's not that old. He has basically said he'll be staying at Real Madrid until he's done now at this point. So I don't know. I think we'll get a Passover season of Cruz and Bellingham, perhaps, similar to the way we've seen Camavinga handled and Tchouaméni handled over the last 2 seasons individually. I think it's a baller move. I think it's apex. I think there's everything about it. There's nothing not to like about it. Like Bellingham could very easily stay at Real Madrid for the next 5 or 6 seasons off the back of this move and be like SO5 wise a legend, real world football wise, probably the stated the best midfielder England have probably produced. And this is just a move that from top to bottom, like Real Madrid have not missed a beat over this generation turn that they've had. Getting Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Valverde, Vinny, Rodrigo, the other wee boy Endrick that's on his way in, and they've got some interesting pieces in defence, but they still kind of need to sort defence out. And Courtois has got another 5 years in him, no problem, as far as goalkeepers go, if you wanted to run Courtois that long. So yeah, I just don't think there's any downside to this move for anyone attached to it whatsoever. Dortmund will get a great fee and they can rinse and repeat, and Dortmund will go and get somebody else. And they'll go on their merry way doing the Dortmund thing as they do. And as I say, yeah, I think maybe a wee bit of rotation headache season 1, perhaps, but I really don't think Bellingham will miss many minutes. I think if anything, it'll be Cruz that will take turns missing out and playing minutes alongside and that kind of thing, perhaps. But
yeah,
that's my thoughts on it.
Gaza in the chat said, hasn't Cruz signed a 12-month extension? I just got my Google out, and yes, he has. So
there you go.
Great for me. I'm a Cruz holder and a Cruz fan as well. I love watching him play. So I'm glad that he's got another season in him at least there. I don't see Cruz move into like the MLS. I think he will retire.
Goes nowhere.
Maybe. I think he's done. The fact that he retired from international duty as early as he did just tells me everything. I'd be very surprised to see him like have a swan song in America or anywhere else. I don't think that he's that kind of player. But some interesting other developments in the transfer market. I really like the news. I hate it because it's Liverpool, but Liverpool being linked to Birch of Bayern Munich, I think, is a great shout. And he hasn't really hit the ground running, has he, over there? He hasn't seen much of the pitch at all. Even when they've had injury situation over there. I think that Liverpool need a youthful injection in midfield, a box-to-box player like Birch is probably exactly what they need. I think the only sort of downside to a Birch signing is that maybe lack of like elite level experience that he's only really had in sort of Champions League games at Ajax a couple of seasons ago when he was 17, 18. So, but yeah, what do you reckon to that move and how likely that one is to get over the line?
I think Liverpool need to raid Challenger Europe like mad again. We've seen them go and get Darwin and Luis Diaz and, I know they got Jota from Wolves, but he wasn't long away from Benfica when they got him, kind of thing, and so on and so forth with some of the other guys I've picked up. But I think they do need to, Birch, of course, is one that they're linked to all the time. I see Channy on Twitter going mad for the Kochu links that are happening. I can see that move coming off quite easily. But I also think I referenced it earlier. Was it in this show or was it somewhere else? I'm losing my marbles here. But Klopp loves to buy off relegated teams, so like
Prowse then maybe.
Well, I don't know, mate. I was looking at Leeds' midfield, and I think there's definitely depends on your taste, right? But between the 3 Americans that are there, I would take one of them in the Liverpool team. If you're going to shop in the off season, take your poison who you like better of the 3 of them. But I think there's a case for each of them that one of them could be a useful asset to Liverpool, whether it be Brendan Aronson, Weston McKennie, or Tyler Adams, just for clarity. I'll say some people throwing Maddison in there as well, and a few other names. But I think they need youth. They need box to, because the thing with Liverpool's midfield, right? Liverpool's midfield, Apex Liverpool was never the creative force, right? Liverpool's Apex midfield, and we can maybe discuss the intricacies of it, right? But it revolved around Milner, Henderson, and Wijnaldum on the side of Fabinho, or maybe Fabinho didn't play and it was the 3 of them. And it was making sure that the front players could press and you were supporting them and making sure you're covering for the fullbacks that were going to bomb on as well. And the midfield, that's all they done. They were all very busy, technically very good players, high energy, high action volume. And Thiago Alcantara doesn't do that. Naby Keita's never fit enough to do that. Harvey Elliott, I think, has a bit of that. Curtis Jones, I've not seen enough of, to be quite honest. But the midfielders, they need to come in, as some of the guys we've mentioned already. But again, a lazy one, Manu Kone at Gladbach would be a great option for them. And that's it. So I don't think Liverpool have the pressure on them to necessarily maybe get the Kokchu or to get the Maddison. But I think they've got huge pressure to get energy and elite technical ability in tight spaces and on the half turn and that kind of thing, because Liverpool thrive on those balls played into the channel out of the crowd, and Trent can do that, but you need midfield that can do that as well, of course. And
everything you've just said there points every finger for me to a player that I think has been underestimated at Chelsea, and that's Conor Gallagher. And Conor Gallagher in that Liverpool midfield. I know they're being linked to Mason Mount and stuff, but Mason Mount isn't quite like the box to box, like the Gattuso-esque, ankle biter, getting stuck in, creating a chance, being in amongst the box. And I think
people see him as a Henderson, don't they? I think that's why the links are there.
But I think he's got a little bit more about him than a Henderson. He's Henderson's a great player, but he's a little bit more of a calm head, whereas Conor Gallagher's the go get him, he when he was at Palace, watched him quite a bit, and he always impressed me. Like his work rate was unreal, but the fact that he was in and about the box as well as being like that kind of really annoying central defensive midfielder that everyone hates playing against players like that. And that's what they've lacked, isn't it? A bit of bite in the midfield. And I think every team misses that. I think United got it back when we signed Casemiro. And the difference he's made in that midfield is like, you know, you can see it, you can feel it. And, you know, from the stands as well, fans love players that look like they bleed for the club, right? I just feel like Conor Gallagher is not, he's not getting the respect he deserves at Chelsea and won't get it. I'd love to see him move away from there this season. I think he will be like a good addition to any team looking for a decent midfielder. So I'll be interested to see what happens with him this season, because I think Chelsea are going to need to move a few players on as well, aren't they?
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know if they've been doing some funny financial gymnastics. We putting Mudryk on a 500-year deal or whatever it was, and you know, everything else. So I'm not too sure. Like I know they've been spending money that's going out of fashion, and it will catch up with them. But I don't know what they need to do this summer in terms of outgoings to balance stuff and whatever. But they are like a patchwork squad, and they are all over the place. And maybe selling somebody like Conor Gallagher to Liverpool, because they did buy Oxlade-Chamberlain from Arsenal in a very similar kind of deal almost, you know. And again, injury didn't really work out for him. But he was good when he played for Liverpool, Ox. You know, I quite liked him for Liverpool, you know. So
his trouble is just keeping fit.
I like that Gallagher shout.
Yeah, I'd like to see him in a club that uses him. I think he's a good player, and like, you know, as for England as well, I think he could potentially, if he moves into a club that plays him every week, he could become like quite an important component of that midfield, in a similar kind of vein of like almost like a little bit more of a dynamic version of Declan Rice, who can like break up play, wins the ball, but he's got a little bit more of a creative kind of eye at the end of a pass. Like, I think that's one thing. Watching Palace against West Ham, we were saying from the stands in the weekend, like, we didn't even know if Declan Rice touched the ball in the first half. He was so like pedestrian. But that is the way Declan Rice plays. He sits in the pockets, picks a like interception or two up, wins a ball and distributes it, and doesn't lose it very much. But he's not. We were saying, like, watching it, you know, like we all rave about Declan Rice as a player because he plays in that West Ham side and you know, he's probably like the best player there. He's the first name on the team sheet. He's the captain, all of that. But if you put Declan Rice in a top 4 club, I just wonder, like, to sort of like put a Man United spin on it, would Declan Rice just look like Scott McTominay or Fred, who like is just like a get the job done kind of player at that level? Scott McTominay is a great player, but if you put him in like a West Ham side, he would be one of them best midfield players, right? In my opinion, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Declan Rice is above. I think his passing credentials are above, and his reading of the games probably above some of the guys you mentioned there. Like, I've not got a high opinion of Fred. McTominay, as much as he's a Scottish bit of an icon at the moment, like, he's good in that, but I don't think he's upper elite, you know. And I think like Declan Rice at Liverpool or Man United, I think could be a real kind of stalwart kind of figure, like a real proper midfield, like, you know, kind of general in that sense, like your Casemiro, but it's that kind of, you know, he's a local lad in the grander scheme of things, you know, versus a Brazilian midfielder, you know. So I think, and Rice could be one of these ones, because West Ham are always holding out for some mental figure, right? But the time will have to come where they accept a normal figure.
Yeah.
And then it's then who's going to come in for him. And I think the sort of figure that West Ham might bite on is probably the sort of figure Liverpool could pay, because Liverpool were never in that Bellingham race, because they were never going to pay that, you know. But they might be able to get Rice. Somebody in the chat as well, by the way, maybe Liverpool unrelated, right? But Tielemans, he's probably thrown this at Liverpool, right? But for me, maybe Liverpool unrelated. Tielemans on a free transfer feels like a great Sorare card. If he's a free transfer in the summer, like, he could really go a lot of different places and be very good, you know. In the Prem, he could go to a lot of teams and be decent. But if he was to leave the Prem, he could be like a very good player. So if Tielemans is a free agent this summer, he could be a good card to look at. Just on a side note, Stish, from the chat there.
On that note as well, actually, like, talking about players that are going down from an SO5 Sorare perspective, are there, I think, like, one of the really interesting kind of like current market situations is obviously now, you know, we've got those European D2 divisions that can still be used in all-star cap modes, U23, etc. how many good options must there be in those kind of Southampton squads of players who next season in the Championship could be absolutely unreal? And for me, looking at like Bella Kotchap, I think Bella Kotchap could be the one next season. He's going down, but I don't expect many clubs to be like chasing after him. They might probably rather wait and see how he gets on in the Championship. But if Southampton lose a few players, I feel like Bella Kotchap's one of those players that might stay. And if he does stay, I'd expect him to like have an absolutely beastly season in the Championship, because I'd expect Southampton to do well down there as well. I think they'll be amongst.
I think Southampton are very capable of a bounce back, but I was picking Sam Tighe's brain about Southampton the other day with this exact train of thought in mind, Stishy boy, because I was looking at Big Paul.
Yeah.
The price of Big Paul. Imagine him in the Championship. But anyway, so Sam says it's very, like Southampton specifically, the future is very unclear, new manager, etc. I actually would disagree with you on the Bella Kotchap in the sense that I think if they get relegated, the younger players will be the ones that are easily sold for decent money if they are to rebuild and rebound. So I think Lavia will go. I think he's get buybacks and clauses and relegation fees and stuff probably anyway that will make that dead easy to happen. And I think Bella Kotchap mate, he had great stats in Germany. He was a big like money ball player. Everyone kind of knew, oh, this guy's scooping up interceptions for fun in Germany and winning duels and all that kind of stuff. So I think the fact that he's not drowned in the Premier League, I would be surprised if another Premier League club didn't take a punt on him, to be quite honest.
Or like a Burnley or something, bringing one of the clubs coming up, maybe pick him up on the way.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, Burnley's kind of current transfer links, very interesting to see. And it'd be interesting to see like the effect of the promotion on card price. I can only really go off like following sort of Cullen and Muric, but I haven't really been following too closely what's happened to Cullen's price. But Muric has been an interesting one because he also ages out this summer. So going up and aging out, he seems to have hit like, and obviously at the moment they're being rotated out quite a bit because they're giving all of the squad players, trying to get them that medal at the end of the season and that. So Muric has been in and out of the side the last few games since they got promotion. But yeah, really interesting. This will be the first summer where, apart from in, like the Prem, but German Bundesliga, Spanish La Liga as well, going down into La Liga 2 is a really interesting one because they have so many teams in that division. There's a lot of midweek utility in La Liga 2. So if you're picking up the cards of players getting relegated out of La Liga right now, that could become good, useful cards in La Liga 2 next season. There's some potential beasts for midweeks there. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting monitoring the next few weeks, seeing who's going down, what that does in terms of spiking in prices when teams are like guaranteed down and players, contractual dealings come out in the open, like, relegation clauses, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm quite excited for that. I feel like it's the first time, like in the next few weeks, I feel like I'm going to be hot on Transfermarkt, just checking up who's out of contract, who's staying, like looking at the players that are likely to leave the relegated sides, who's going to be like the main leaders in that team in the lower division next season. Be really interesting to keep an eye on that.
I think it probably ties us in quite well, Stishy boy, because like one of the things we've been talking about quite a lot is that freshy life and moving up a colour. And if you are going to move up a colour, getting a guy that gets into the English Championship by relegation or even by transfer, before that gets priced into their utility.
Yeah.
Some of those guys have, throughout the whole time of Sorare, been very useful threshold activators, because of the amount of fixtures they play and all the other stuff you're saying also about the other Division 2 teams, but Championship especially, because it's just got a wee bit more fixtures. So I'll definitely be keeping a wee bit of relegation lover.
Yes.
Lenses on if you're looking at changing the scarcity, moving up a level for thresholds or for any other competitions.
Good shout, that. Good shout. I can't argue with that. Do you like a bit of Championship utility? I've got a few. But yeah, be interested to see next season, like with Sorare cards, and we were talking about this a few weeks ago, like, are we going to see Norwich again? Are we going to see, like, are the teams getting relegated from the Premier League going to be minting next season? There's loads of little potential, hiccups there. We don't know the ins and outs of all of that just yet. So could be a masterstroke picking up some of those players that might not get minted next season.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's right, because some of the Prem ones and all the other ones. Oh no, Bundesliga 2 and La Liga 2, I don't think you would need to worry about that at all.
No.
But Serie B, League 2, and England, yeah, you could get a team that goes like limit print. You know, that's them done. You know, so that could be cheat code Stish, because as we know, you keep your season bonus at 5%.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
And as we know, we're going to be getting XP and cap modes. Have told us already, and it can only be for cap 240 because we've already spoke about that. You know, so
lots
limit print relegated cards.
Yeah, that sounds good. So Sopsy says that the French league has 4 going down. So
that's brutal.
That is brutal. One point actually that we did want to touch on, and we can be quite short and sharp about it, was Sopsy said K-League, and definitely we mentioned this off air. Quick one on K-League. This week was the first real game week where we've seen the kind of impact of those double game weeks coming into play, and those fixtures that fall on the kind of right on the deadline. So we're only going to get the decisives. Do you have any K-League players? Did that impact your thoughts on it? I'll jump in quickly and say I have quite a lot of K-League players, and I also have a lot of K-League players who are affected by this weekend's game week. I think Ulsan, Seoul, and Daegu all have fixtures right at the end of the game week window, so they're only going to be getting decisives. So this weekend, from looking at it, I think most of my K-League players from those divisions have gone into like a unique kickoff. Just hang them in there. At least, you know, like I can hope for a decisive, or, you know, worst case, I'm going to get that base score of like 35. The only one I did think of using was the goalkeeper for Ulsan, because, you know, if he keeps a clean sheet, he's going to get a 60, which is better than nothing.
As long as he doesn't concede 3, he'll get a 35 as well, which for some keepers, that's good.
Yeah, exactly. So he was the only card where I was like, yeah, I might still use him in, you know, a cap mode or something like that. But be interesting to see how these scores affect cap modes, because, you know, like when the game week closes, obviously in the week, we're only going to get 35s or 60s or, you know, 25s or whatever. But further down the line, when they do eventually add those scores, are those scores going to be updated on their sort of like Sorare map? Because like in 3 or 4 weeks time, if they've got like a cap mode of like 35 because they've played 5 games and they've only got the base score, you know, if they add those up AAs like later on in down the line, they're going to become a bit less useful for cap mode. But if those 35 point scores do actually start pushing these players down, then they might become really handy for cap mode in weeks where,
of course,
you know, you only need 35 points from a goalkeeper. Or
that will be good for Ki Sung Young, because his cap is getting pushed up now with these high 50s he's pulling in every week. So that might be a wee bit of a blessing in disguise. I seen Ki was playing on a Friday for the midweek, and I knew straight away that was just going to be a problem. I'm not picking him. And then I noticed, I think for the weekend, it is like, as you say, and I was like, oh, I'm just not even. So I forgot they told us about it. People were saying it was a reminder, the little notification we got. I got it after the deadline. Some people say they came out 2 minutes before the deadline. But I just kind of organically seen it was a Friday and thought, fuck that for a laugh. I'm not bothering. It feels like pain waiting to happen. So
yeah.
It's one of those ones. I think buyer beware with K-League cards, and it's unfortunate. Anyone that's just not aware of the situation that does pick up cards, you know, they need to do their best to make sure it's communicated as best as possible to.
When I did
everyone listens to podcasts or goes on Twitter or is on Discord, some people just, you can imagine, just don't do any of those things, you know, and won't know. Again, how many of those guys will have K-League cards, so you never know.
That's it, mate. Well, yeah, I think on that note, that pretty much covers that, all the points that we wanted to raise. We'll be back again next week. If you're listening, as Quinny mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, on the podcast or on YouTube or on Twitch or, you know, on Twitter or on Instagram, we're everywhere, M Product Pod. Or you can find us, you know, by searching M Product Sorare. You'll find us pretty much anywhere. Please do comment, like, share, and subscribe. And we look forward to spending another hour and a bit with you this time next week, hopefully celebrating a bit of M Product. Good luck tonight, Quinny. We'll be keeping an eye out for your scores, and fingers crossed you hit the bag, and we can celebrate this time next week.
Whoop, whoop.
Cheers, everyone.
Everyone this week.
Take care. Good luck.